Hey everybody, this is Darren Spader again, Bay Area News Group, Mercury News, East Bay Times, here with Nathan Canilau and Christian Babcock, heading into week 14, which means we're at section championship, the section championship games for the 2025 season. We had 2 last weekend, but we have a bunch of them this weekend. So last week's championships, we saw Reardon beat Serra for the second time this season to capture its first CCS Open Division Championship. And we also saw De La Salle win its 33rd consecutive NCS Championship. The last few in their Open Division. They beat Pittsburgh in a game that we have to tip our cap to Nathan Canilau, who last week, I don't think he saw it going exactly the way it went, but he said it would be a, what did you say? Within 10 points?
Yeah, De La Salle's hardest game was my prediction.
Yes,
and I think it's pretty true.
Which turned out to be true. Pittsburgh, under Charlie Ramirez, has played great games against De La Salle, only to watch the team in green celebrate with the big trophy. Nathan, what were your impressions of Pittsburgh, and what does this mean moving forward for De La Salle, which will now presumably, we'll find out officially on Sunday, but it looks like they're going to get Carson Palmer's San Margarita team, or their old SoCal rivals, Centennial Corona team that they played a number of times in state championships, including 10 years ago when De La Salle won its last state Open Division championship. So what were your impressions of Friday night, and your thoughts on De La Salle moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, my impression was that Pittsburgh probably should have won that game. They reached the red zone 7 times, came away with 3 scores on 7 red zone attempts. So it was, they were right there. De La Salle had the ball, I believe, 3 times total in the second half. One of them was a 3-play drive, which ended in a fumble, and Pittsburgh couldn't convert. They had a chance right there to either cut it to 1 or, take the lead. They couldn't convert, missed a field goal. So I think, for Pittsburgh, I think you come away with that game, especially just the odds of them going in and how young they are. I think a lot of people expected if they just put up a fight, like that's enough, but they did a lot more than that. And I think you feel really good if you're Pittsburgh. You took the top team in Northern California to the brink. They've done it now 3 out of the last 4 years. So that's, I think, is really a positive for them. On De La Salle's side, I think there is some things to fix. I don't want to say that Pittsburgh put out a blueprint to beat De La Salle, but they did do some things that I think if you're Carson Palmer over at Santa Margarita, or if you're Centennial, you're going to look at that game and really study that film, because there were a lot of times where Pittsburgh was able to move the ball. I think with the vaunted defensive line of De La Salle, I think what Charlie Ramirez and his staff really figured out was that we got to either get the ball out quick, or we got to do some quick runs. We cannot let the line dictate the game, the pace. So, if you're one of these SoCal teams, I do think that is, some film and there's some things you could take away. But if you're De La Salle, I mean, you get 3 weeks off. They're going to have, Coach Justin Alba made it really clear he's not giving anybody a lot of break. They're gonna get their rest, but they're gonna practice. So, but it is a well-needed 3 weeks off. They played hard games a lot through the preseason, the non-league schedule, and then they played obviously the EBAL. So it was overall, I think it was an exciting game for both teams, and I think both teams have some things to work on, but also some positives to take away.
And for Pittsburgh, I mean, it's a tough turnaround. They're going to play a really good Cardinal Newman team on Friday night. We'll get more into that a little bit later. But last year they had San Ramon Valley, which we thought they would beat San Ramon Valley after giving De La Salle all it could handle, and San Ramon put up a heck of a fight. Which I'm guessing you guys agree with me that Cardinal Newman will not be a pushover. I mean, this is a very storied program that Pittsburgh is going to face on Friday night at Diablo Valley College. So we'll talk more a little bit about that when we get into our picks. Move over to Christian Babcock, who was at San Jose City last week. We saw Reardon cap off an undefeated portion of its CCS schedule. They went 12-0. Very impressive win over Serra, second win over Serra in 3 weeks, or 3 games, 2 weeks period, right? So 3 games over 2 weeks, and Serra lost both of them. Christian, what were they saying over at Reardon? And do you think, I know it's the way that the CIF has set this thing up, but was there any talk at Reardon that, man, maybe we should be playing De La Salle for the best team in the Bay Area?
I did not hear any of that. I heard a lot of Folsom, which I think has sort of been the consensus. I know we've talked about it. I know various other people have sort of speculated who they're lined up to play. I think all signs point to them going to Folsom this year. So I think that's just kind of, they've accepted that that's the likely reality. But yeah, great showing by Reardon. I mean, they really came out. It was, I don't want to call it the opposite of the last game, but definitely the start was the opposite. Instead of Serra going up 14-0 quickly, Reardon came out and punched Serra in the mouth, went up 13-0 with 2 quick touchdown drives. And I mean, that wasn't the end of the game, but that definitely set the tone for the rest of the game. And unlike last game, which was, a classic thriller, just really competitive down to the very end, an onside kick that Serra went too early on, but recovered, that could have given them a chance to tie the game. This game was not going to be tied late. I mean, Reardon just took control of the game. They kept control pretty much the whole game. And, they stamped themselves as the best team in the CCS this year. And it's a really good team this year.
No doubt about it. And yeah, they will probably get Folsom if Folsom beats Oak Ridge this weekend. If not, who knows who they're going to get. I saw their speculation. I think it was on Cal High Sports that if Folsom were to go down, we might see maybe we'll see a Pittsburgh Reardon rematch.
What about the Central East team?
Central East is in that play. We'll see if, where they end up. They could end up in the South. We don't know. We don't know where the CIF will put the Fresno teams. So, same with Bakersfield. So, but right now, as you pointed out, all signs point to a Folsom Reardon game, which we would think would be at Folsom. They don't go on the higher seed for these games, but they like to, if you go on the road one year, the next year they tend to try to give you a home game. And we know last year Folsom went on the road to play Pittsburgh in the NorCal championship game. So you would think that if Folsom were to make it back, that they will get a home game this time. So we'll see how that all shakes out. We got a lot of games to cover here in our picks. You guys ready to roll?
Yep.
All right, we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up. We will start with North Coast section. We'll start with Saturday games, and we'll start with Saturday North Coast section Division 6, where it will be Fortuna against Bishop O'Dowd. Both teams at 8-4. This is going to be at Moreau Catholic, 1 o'clock on Saturday. I will start with you, Christian, the leader. You're the leader in the clubhouse. You got a huge lead now. You're 4 games up over me, and I think like 8 games up over Lefty, and a lot of games up over Nathan.
Yeah, who you got? Me, the Los Angeles Dodgers of this division.
Yeah, you're going for back-to-back.
Okay, I'll take what I can get.
There you go. Who do you got? Who are you taking in this game?
Who do I got? So I love this. I love that this game is at Moreau because I feel like O'Dowd is this year's Moreau. Just in a lower division, set up for a deep playoff run. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think O'Dowd's going to win this game. I'll be fascinated to see who they play in NorCal. I know that kind of reconfigures things, but I mean, if they get past NorCal, I think we're looking at a state championship team just with how low they've been placed in the brackets. So we'll see.
Right. And you having seen them against Logan, probably don't think they should be in Division 6.
No, I mean, I've said this before. They had one bad game. I don't really understand how they ended up in Division 6. I mean, the rest of their schedule, you look at it, they played pretty well. So,
Nathan, who you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to take O'Dowd. I do want to say a quick, before we just like pass over Fortuna, I'll say this real quick story. When I was in high school, we did play, Fortuna came down to Granada High. This is basketball, but we looked at them and we kind of laughed. It was like, oh, these guys don't look athletic at all. And then we lost by 30. So I'm not going to just pass over Fortuna. That is seared into my brain. So I'm going to take O'Dowd, but I do think it will be like somewhat close to open the game. So I say O'Dowd I think it'll be close, and then O'Dowd takes it in the second half.
All right, it's a clean sweep for O'Dowd. Left Cow's got O'Dowd. Left Cow coming back off of everything that happened to him this fall, and went 18-4 last week to tie Christian for the week lead. He was the leader at 18-4. So he's got O'Dowd. I've got O'Dowd, and the computer hsratings.com. So it's going to be close. Has O'Dowd winning 28-24.
Nathan, can you locate Fortuna on a map?
No.
Okay.
That's part of why we laughed. We didn't know where that was. You're like,
Yeah.
Is this in Sweden or something? Like,
Yes.
Where are they?
This from Mars? Where are they from?
Yeah.
All right. Next one on the list is a CCS Division 5 game. It's going to be played at McDonald High at 1:00 on Saturday afternoon, where Piedmont Hills at 9-3, the number 1 seed, is going to be taking on Sobrato at 8-4. I actually went against Piedmont Hills last week. Not sure what I was thinking, given that I picked Piedmont Hills in our section champion pick competition at the beginning of the playoffs. So I'm going to go back on the Pirates bandwagon. I'm taking Piedmont Hills to win this game. Mike Lefkow's taking Sobrato. The computer has Piedmont winning 24-22. Nathan, who you got?
Yeah, I also went against Piedmont Hills, which is a costly mistake. And I'm going to take them this week. I think Coach King over there has them fired up and ready to go. I'll take Piedmont Hills.
Christian?
Yeah, I will speak in our defense a little bit. I think Jefferson was a really good team. They kind of laid an egg last week, but I think we were justified in leaning with them. But I don't know, Kelly King Jr. is kind of in his bag with these Division 5 brackets. He won it last year with Leland, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And I think he's set up for another one. So give me Piedmont Hills.
Piedmont Hills. All right. Next one on the list is an NCS Division 4 game. This is going to be at Moreau Catholic, part of the doubleheader, 7:00 kick, where it's going to be Miramonte playing with a JV quarterback who was called up to replace Carson Blair, who was injured, out for the year. And he's led the Mats to 2 playoff wins. Well, the defense had a big say in it last week. They got a shutout, first one of the year. So Miramonte at 7-5 is going to be playing a really good Hayward team at 9-3. I will start with you, Christian. Is Miramonte going to pull off the upset and with this young quarterback who everybody seems to think is really good?
I don't think so. I've kind of been on the Hayward train a little bit, or maybe tractor, since they're the farmers out there. Again, I don't know where the farms are in Hayward, but there might be one somewhere.
Used to be. That's true. But to extend the tractor metaphor, they are rolling right now. So I think they're going to get going. We've talked a lot about Maurice Hall, but I should mention Lamont McDonald, their other running back. He's been leading them and rushing a lot of their games. I think he's had, if not exactly 200, pretty close to 200 yards in a few games. So they're really rolling out of the backfield there. The tractor's just leveling that field out real nice for them. There you go. Nathan, who you got?
Yeah, I think Hayward did a tremendous job demolishing my alma mater last week. And I'll throw in Jaden Irving as a nice little dual threat quarterback. So they have like 3 guys who at any moment could take off for a touchdown at anywhere on the field. So I'm gonna go with Hayward. I think they're rolling. I think they win this NCS championship.
Clean sweep for Hayward. Lefko's got the Farmers. I've got the Farmers, and the computer has the Farmers at 34-26. This next one, I'm really interested in this game. It's CCS Division 4. It's going to be Saturday night at San Jose City College. I expect a very big crowd there with Lincoln San Jose playing for its first CCS championship after years and years and years of playing the Thanksgiving game against San Jose, the Big Bone game. They're now eligible for the CCS playoffs and are not only won their first CCS playoff game in this run, they now won 2 and are going for 3 to make it to a NorCal regional. They're going to be playing a very explosive Branham team, the top seed at 7-5. Branham puts up a lot of points. Also gives up a lot of points. I think Lincoln won the game earlier this year. I think they played, and then Lincoln won. The computer has Lincoln winning 38-35. Christian, who you got?
Yeah, so I just looked it up to double check. They went to Branham on October 9th and beat them 35-25. So, I mean, I think everything you look at really pretty much comes up Lincoln in this one. I mean, you look at last year, they had a tough year, and just kind of, I think they weren't really satisfied with that. And now with Kyan Phillips being a senior, I mean, the amount of touchdowns he's piling up, just seems like they aren't going to be stopped. So, I think, like you said, it'd be great for the city of San Jose, great for their alumni community to get this win. I think they will. And, if they do, I'll be really interested to see what they do in NorCal's too.
So you're taking Lincoln. I expect a huge Lincoln contingent. The crowd that normally would pack the stands for the Big Bone game on Thanksgiving. We'll just have to wait 2 extra days to see their team play for their first CCS championship against a very explosive Branham team, as I pointed out. Nathan, who you got?
Yeah, I think Lincoln. I mean, Kyan Phillips has just been so good this year. I've picked Branham a lot in the past, but I'm gonna take Lincoln in this one. I just think that the momentum's on their side, and I like their offense, so I'm gonna go with Lincoln.
All right, I got Lincoln as well. Lefkow's going Branham. So there is somebody who is saying the Bruins will hoist the trophy at the end of this one. And as I said, the computer has Lincoln winning 38-35. Next one is a CCS D3 game. This is also going to be Saturday night. This one's going to be at McDonald High in San Jose, where Menlo-Atherton, team that has gotten hot at the end of the season, they're 6-6. They're going to be playing the 8th seed in this bracket, San Mateo. The Bearcats at 9-3. Bearcats coming off a big win last week over Live Oak after defeating Woodside, previously undefeated Woodside in the first round. All right, I'm going to start with Nathan, and who you got?
This was close for me, but I'm going to take San Mateo. I think I just like their attitude. They're rolling into these places as underdogs, and they're like, nah, we're not underdogs. We're about to beat you up. So I like San Mateo. I think they're going to complete this little run they have, and I think they're going to do it.
Christian.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting game for a few reasons. I mean, first of all, it's just sort of the quintessential, 4-6 PAL Bay team that gets hot. But I mean, you look at the arc of MA's season. I think we talked about this a week or two ago, but they finished tied for second in the PAL Bay. I think they were 3-1, 3-2. I think there wasn't a forfeit in there. But did they beat?
But they got hammered early by a couple of teams, including Akalani's.
They did, which, Akalani's turned out to be fantastic. But I think they figured things out. You don't really think about settling into the schedule in the PAL Bay, but that's pretty much what they did. And since then, I think they've had it rolling. I mean, I think San Mateo's had a great year. I think they'll give them a good game. But San Mateo, as much as I love Woodside, and I'm unintentionally wearing their color today, but, they're kind of stepping up levels. They beat Woodside, who's a PAL Ocean team. Then they went up to the Mount Hamilton and beat Live Oak. Now they're going to see if they can hang with the PAL Bay team, and I think MA's going to win.
You think MA? All right, I got MA as well. Lefkow's got MA, and the computer has MA 27-21. So all of these games are going to be close according to the hsratings.com computer. This is the last Saturday game on our list where we got a CCS Division II final. This is going to be the old school rivals from San Francisco, who, as Christian wrote yesterday, are going to have to definitely make the 50-mile trip to the South Bay to play at San Jose City College for a 1:00 in the afternoon game, where it'll be Sacred Heart Cathedral against St. Ignatius. These teams played at the end of the regular season, and St. Ignatius won. They've been red hot down the stretch, looking kind of like they were last season when they won the CCS Open Championship. I'm going to take the Wildcats. I've got SI winning. Lefkow's got SI. The computer has SI 28-26. Nathan, are we right, or is this going to be Sacred Heart Cathedral's day?
I think Sacred Heart Cathedral is I think that they've been waiting for this. There was some fireworks after that game at Kezar a couple weeks ago, and I think they're going to win it. I think they're going to figure it out. I watched SI. They're very talented, but I think quarterback Michael Sargent is going to figure out another way to get 6 touchdowns on the board, and he's going to pull out a win in San Jose. 6
touchdowns. Christian, is Nathan right?
Not so fast, my friend. SI's really impressed me down the stretch. I hope I'm pronouncing this young man's name right. Caden of Sharapur. I hope I'm at least close. He came back from, I believe, a fractured ankle for SI, and he's been playing great. And, Michael Sargent, 6 TDs. I don't know. I think he'll put up some yards, some points. That's generally what they do over there with the Irish at SHC. But I like SI. I think they've rounded into form. Obviously, getting your starting quarterback healthy is a big deal. for pretty much any team. And, they were competitive early in the season with him against Alkalis. I think he played that game. Nathan, you're going to have to help me out. But
yeah, I believe he did play. That was, I think, I want to say it was his first start. I think I remember that correctly.
Yeah. So, I think this is a pretty good team at this point in the season, and I think they're going to win this game.
All right. We're moving to Friday, where we got an NCS Division 7 game where Piedmont, which almost dropped football about 4 or 5 years ago. Thankfully, for its sake, it did not, because they are in an NCS final at 8-4. They're going to be taking on top-seeded Middletown. Middletown is 10-2. This game is going to be played at Justin Siena High School. I've been on Piedmont's bandwagon. I think I took them to win the section in our picks at the start of the playoffs, so I'm not going to drop them now. I'm taking Piedmont. Left Cow's going Middletown. Computer has Middletown at 31-24. Christian, who you got?
Yeah, I like Piedmont. They're a good story. I like the purple. Purple is an excellent color. Really stands out. But they got to make a bit of a trip. I just looked up Justin Siena's in Napa just to make sure. Not as far north as Fortuna, which is just south of Eureka. So at least they don't have to go that far. But, road trip, I think Middletown's a good team. I believe I picked them to win the section. Hopefully I'm remembering that correctly. And I think they're going to take it home. But, good luck to the Highlanders. And we'll see if they can pull it off.
Nathan, who you got?
I got Piedmont. I think Coach Jordan Seaton is doing a tremendous job. They were close, I think, last year to winning an NCS title, and they've just been a solid program for the last few, since, like you said, since they almost dropped football. So I'm taking Piedmont. I think they win this game. They're going to go to a NorCal game.
All right. So we've got 2 for Piedmont, 2 for Middletown, and the computer breaks the tie with Middletown. Next one on the list is NCS Division 3 game. This is going to be played at American Canyon High School, where it will be El Cerrito at 10-2, the 3 seed, taking on 5th seeded Ukiah. I think I took El Cerrito to win this bracket. I'm not going to change my mind now. I think they've been a very nice bounce back year after all the issues that El Cerrito had last season. So nice to see those kids, who stuck around, and that they're a 10-win season, 1 win away from an NCS and NCS title in NorCal bid. So I've got El Cerrito winning. Left Cal's got El Cerrito. Computer has El Cerrito close, 28-24. Nathan, are we right, or is Ukiah going to get it done on Friday?
I think we're all pretty much going to be on the same page. I got El Cerrito. Ukiah lost by 7 to Rancho Cotati, and it was the first game of the year, but they did lose, and El Cerrito just demolished them. I mean, it was pretty, from what I understand, it was pretty lopsided. So I'm taking El Cerrito. I think it's a great bounce back story, and I think they're going to go to a NorCal game.
Christian?
Yeah. So first of all, if you haven't already, you should go to Twitter and look up Christian Vieira's Twitter, who freelances for the Press Democrat and used to freelance for us. The ending of that Ukiah vintage game was insane. A Ukiah player was essentially sacked, but they didn't get him on the ground. He just
on a 2-point play.
Huh?
On a 2-point play.
Yeah. So they're down, I believe it was 21-20, and they go for 2. And the kid, he's held up. He can't move. He just chucks the ball, doesn't know where it's going. It hits off the back of the back judge, which I'm not, or maybe the umpire, which I'm not sure why he was in the end zone, and his back was turned. Anyway, all that aside, it hits his back, caught by a Ukiah player. They win the game. So absolutely insane ending. All that to say, I don't think there will be any of that drama. I think El Cerrito, like you said, Darren, they've had a great bounce back season. I think they're going to take care of business and win this one without any referee. What's a good word? Help.
Interference.
Appearance. Any aid, any interference. Yeah. So I'm going with El Cerrito.
That was a terrible way for Vintage to lose that game.
Yeah. And, I refs are in the field to play. That's just a reality of how the game is played. But I think Gus said this on Twitter. I've never seen an ending like that. I mean, completely.
We also had one 2 weeks ago, remember? And I think it was it American Canyon? Who was the one that California where there was like 4 or 5 Hail Mary interference, penalty on the field goal, another penalty on the field goal, another penalty on the field goal, and it ended up being a chip shot field goal to win the game.
Yeah. I mean, penalties are one thing. And, I think we should say I've done a few stories on refs and how hard it's been to get refs out. The refs are doing the best job they can, but that was crazy. I mean, that's the downside of having refs in the field to play sometimes is sometimes those things are just unavoidable. So, yeah, that's a tough way for Vintage to have its season come to an end.
Yep. All right. We got 3 games left. So everybody's taking El Cerrito. 3 games left. This next one's NCS Division 2. It's going to be played at Dublin High on Friday night. We're Clayton Valley Charter, the 4 seed, coming off a win over top seeded Campolindo. Their second win over Campolindo this season. Both of them were very close. They're going to be playing Monte Vista, who, like a lot of these teams, has gotten hot at the right time. The Mustangs at 7-5. They're the 2 seed. This should be a great game. I've got Clayton winning. Lefko's got Clayton. The computer has Clayton 28-24. Nathan, who's going to win?
I got Clayton. I had some doubt. They started off the year 2-3. They lost to Liberty. I think that, obviously the back-to-back lost to Acalanes and De La Salle later in the year. I had some real doubts about this team, but I think they're starting to figure it out. Jadis Lucky is obviously their star player, but I think their defense is coming around. So I'm going to go Clayton Valley in this one. I think they're going to, raise this NCS trophy.
Christian, you agree?
Yeah, to Nathan's point, I mean, they have some D1 kids at linebacker. I think I added them to our preseason All Bay Area News Group team. And, I mean, sometimes it's pretty simple. Jadis Lucky is the best player on the field. Monte Vista, like you said, Darren, has had a great run. I think, the power of Nate Landman, who just, signed a nice extension with your Rams. It's, he's kind of, compelling him, bringing him back. I know Chris Babcock, our friend, is, egging both Monte Vista and Nate Landman on Twitter. But, I think Clayton Valley, it's really hard to stop a top running back this time of year. And it seems like every time I look at the roundup, Jadis Lucky has 125 yards, 150 yards. And if they're able to get past this game, I think he has a legit shot at getting 3,000 yards this year, which he told me was his goal before the season. So we'll see. I got Clayton Valley in this one.
All right. And speaking of Nate Landman, I think the last time that Monte Vista won an NCS championship was Nate Landman's senior year when they beat Antioch and Najee Harris. Turns out that, Monte Vista had a couple of NFL guys. They had Jake Hayner at quarterback. They had Eric Cromanhoek, tight end, I believe. And then they had Nate Landman. So quite a team Monte Vista had back then. And did not go on to a NorCal game though, because the way the NCS had set it up that year, they had a different format, and I believe it was the 2 open division teams that moved on, and the Division 1 team did not. Monte Vista did not get to play in a NorCal game. 2 more games on the list. Nathan, this one you're going to be at. It's going to be at Diablo Valley, where Pittsburgh's going to make the short trip again over to Diablo Valley College there in Pleasant Hill. They're familiar with that stadium. They're going to be playing a Cardinal Newman team that was trailing Acalanes 17-9 with just under 3 minutes to go in the first half in Santa Rosa last week. And then suddenly somebody flicked a switch, and Cardinal Newman outscored that great Acalanes team 43-0 the rest of the game over the last 25 minutes of that game. So they are no joke at 11-1, coached by it's Frank McManus, right? That's the name of the coach who in his one season at Modern Day back, I believe it was 2023, won the national championship, and then was let go for reasons that still have not been disclosed in the spring of that year. But he's back coaching. He's now at Cardinal Newman, and he's obviously done a great job with the storied program from Santa Rosa. All that being said, these are 2 very storied programs. Nathan, end of this one.
I got Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh will. I think just the fact that they were able to play not just tight with De La Salle, but they've been able to kind of shift and kind of, we can play this way. They've historically had, the deep threats and all the athletes, and they still could win that way. I think that that De La Salle game did give them some confidence. I will say Cardinal Newman is a monster. They are a monster. And I'm going to butcher this young man's name, but Pathu Munurak Malachi.
I copied And I copied off his Twitter and put it in. I was not going to type that name.
Yeah, well, he's a beast. He ran for a lot of yards last week, and he's been pretty good all season. They're going to obviously have to focus in on him, but I do think Pittsburgh, Charlie Ramirez, that Pittsburgh culture will, in the end, come out with a victory, and we will see them in NorCal's.
All right, Christian, I think you took Cardinal Newman to win this division in our section picks. Pretty sure you did. You and Gus Morris from the Santa Rosa Press Democrat. Are you going to stick with that pick, or are you going to change?
No, I'm going to equivocate in a wishy-washy manner. Yeah, I do believe I picked Cardinal Newman. It escapes me right now, but yeah, I'm kind of spooked. The thing about Cardinal Newman, I know we all think San Marin's a pretty good team, but they barely got past San Marin, and then they just laid
Very good team.
Yes, but I mean, we think Aguilaz is, and they just laid a hurt. I think Cardinal Newman. I think if we're talking cars here, it's like a red sports car. It has a different gear. Pittsburgh's kind of the big truck, strong, resilient. We'll get it done for you, and that's why I'm going to lean with them. I think they have more of a track record. I think Charlie Ramirez is a great coach. But, I mean, this is pretty close to a coin flip. I think this game depends more on what Cardinal Newman brings to the table. I think we all know what Pittsburgh's going to bring. But like I said, I think Cardinal Newman, they just have that extra gear. So we'll see. Should be a great game, regardless.
So, to be clear, you're taking Pittsburgh?
That's my plan, yeah.
You're taking Pittsburgh, so you're going up against your pick. Your
yeah.
earlier pick.
Yeah,
you reserved the right
What?
You did reserve the right to make a change.
Yes, I did. And I'm going to exercise that right. So.
So clean sweep for Pittsburgh, as the computer has Pittsburgh winning 27-21. Last game on the list before we wrap this show up, it's CCS Division 1, where Christian's going to be at San Jose City College. He might as well just bring a tent out there. He's going to be out there all weekend. Where the Serra Padres will be returning to San Jose City. And vibes not quite as good as Pittsburgh returning to Diablo Valley, where they almost beat De La Salle last week. Serra was not in a close game with Reardon last week. They're now at 7-5, but I mean, throw that record out. Those 5 losses, I mean, against some of the best teams playing football in the state of California. So they're at 7-5. Where Los Gatos, the 3 seed, at 9-3, looked very impressive last week against Palma. I think a lot of those close losses, which also included a loss to Pittsburgh, Clovis, and who was the other team that? Oh, SoCal. The beginning of the season when SoCal had its great quarterback before he got hurt at the end of the year. Los Gatos at 9-3. So I'm going to start with Nathan and then go to Christian and then work my way to Left Count and me. So Nathan, is Serra going to hoist the trophy at the end of this one?
I think Serra last week, I was expecting a lot more. I will say, I thought they would put up a little bit bigger fight against Reardon, but it is Reardon, so I'll give them that. Los Gatos is just, I really love their offense. Mark Creel does a great job, but I am going with Serra. I think they're going to do it. I've been saying this, I feel like my last few picks have been Serra and they lose, but I think they'll figure it out. They're going to get it done. I think they're going to slow the game down against that, really explosive Los Gatos offense. And we that's another team we're going to see in NorCal. So I'll take Serra.
Okay, Christian. The last 2 times I believe Serra and Los Gatos have hooked up in the postseason. Both games in San Mateo. One last year and one way back in 2014. Mark Creel. Mark Creel's team got the better of Serra. Is that going to happen again? Are they going to go 3 for 3 against the Padres?
No, I'm going to contradict this lovely shirt I'm wearing. Seems I'm picking all the orange teams today, but not this time. Los Gatos, I think they're a great team. I think, like Nathan said, they bring a lot to the table offensively, especially this year. But I think this game is going to be about their defense, and they did some really good things against St. Francis in the first round. But I think this Serra team, they're kind of a souped-up version of this year's St. Francis, and this year's St. Francis kind of reminds me of last year's Serra. And I mean, this Serra team, we've talked about it a few times, but they remind me of 2023 Michigan. They just kind of bludgeon you. They're pretty much always going to own the line of scrimmage. That was one thing that really impressed me with Reardon, is they pretty much shut down Serra's inside run game. And I think there are very few teams in our coverage area that can do that. I know Los Gatos, they talk about the brotherhood. And I think that's going to, keep them in the fight. They're going to put up a good fight. But I think, Serra's going to get this D1 title, and it'll be interesting to see if they win. Talking to Patrick Walsh, this is a new experience for him. Obviously, he has some experience being on whatever you want to call it, the other side of the top bracket with some consolation stuff in the past. But this one's for a real championship. This one is for a Division I championship, and I think they're going to win it.
All right. I mean, Los Gatos has talked a lot about brotherhood, and I think Serra is the OG for brotherhood. I think that's what all of their programs have been built on through the many years. I'm guessing Los Gatos the same way, and some of the other schools that have been great. This was a tough one because I really, really, really like the way Los Gatos has played down the stretch. I just think Sarah's lines. I mean, I remember seeing last year St. Francis wore Los Gatos down with that physicality, and this Serra team can bring physicality to the field. So I'm going to lean Serra. I'll take Serra, but I would not be shocked if Los Gatos won this game. Left Cow, on the other hand, is taking Los Gatos. So Los Gatos has one person here picking them to win. The computer does not have Los Gatos winning. It has Serra winning 28-22. That's all the games we have to pick this week. We've got a lot of playoff coverage coming up this weekend. And then we also have NorCal matchups, which will be announced on Sunday. Nathan and Christian will both be on for that to break it all down. We're going to see who De La Salle's playing. We're going to see who Reardon's playing. We're going to see who all of these teams are going to be playing. McClymonds, which is already in NorCal. So we have 3 teams are already in NorCal's, right? Or state playoffs.
Yeah.
Because De La Salle will not be in NorCal's, assuming, presumably that they're going to get the NorCal bid to represent the North in the Open Division State Championship game. Christian, you have anything else to close here before we wrap this thing up?
Yeah, this is kind of a random one, but Nathan, that Cardinal Newman running back, is he the one who transferred from Hawaii?
I don't believe so. He played 12 games this year, so I mean, he might have earlier this year, but I mean, if you're talking about the ones that literally came a couple of weeks ago or a month ago or however, I don't think that's him.
Yeah. Well, I'll just expand on that point, and this is not really germane necessarily to the playoffs, but, Darren, you brought up the brotherhood at Serra. I know they've sort of embraced the, Ohana, the Polynesian, Hawaiian, sort of mix, culture. And I think, that's kind of an X factor in our coverage area. There are a lot of great Polynesian players, and I think, that's kind of a component you got to sprinkle into your team, if you want to compete at the highest level. And, I think it's great to see just the diversity in the Bay Area, and, you get all these different kinds of kids, different cultures. And, it's really cool to see, I know the Keana Ainas at St. Francis, I wrote a little bit about the sort of the legacy they're building there. And, it's really cool to see. So hopefully maybe at some point during the off season, do a little story. I love Hawaiian food. I'm sure there's some great Polynesian food that I haven't had. So I love everything about it. It's great to see.
There you go. Nathan, you want to wrap this thing up?
Yeah, I'll wrap it up with I was at the Silver Bowl on Saturday. I got to talk to there was a bunch of people there. Josh Johnson, our quarterback for the Washington Commanders, was there. Got to talk to him for a little bit. I just want to say, I think, and we wrote about this a little bit in Monday Morning Lights, but McClymonds is an interesting. I think it's just such an interesting, experiment, I guess, for the CIF, because they have the St. Francis when they play all these good teams. But I think if you actually watch them, they just lack so much depth. And Coach Michael Peters talked a lot about it with me, and how he believes that they do get the unfair end of the stick, even though they are talented. So I am very interested to see where they're going to get placed this year. Obviously, a WCAL win, especially a team like St. Francis, is nothing to scoff at. But if you look at the rest of the schedule, maybe a little bit lighter on that end. So we'll see where they are placed. I'm curious where they are.
Maybe if CIF wants to save a little money, they'll schedule. There's a Division VI team that could win a championship Saturday.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that would pack the house if we have Bishop O'Dowd against McClymonds.
Yeah, I think if we have Bishop O'Dowd against McClymonds, I think that you might have to put that game in the Coliseum. That's going to be a lot of people there, and it's going to be rowdy, and I think it'll be very fun. So I would, if CIF is listening, that maybe something to consider here.
There
Yeah.
you go.
We talked about this, but I don't think O'Dowd is a D6 team. I don't think McClymonds is,
A D2
with their
team.
depth. Yeah, D2,
Yeah.
D3, D4.
Beat in
Yeah,
D4.
that'd be a great matchup. So
There you go. All right. That's a wrap. Check us out, mercurynews.com, eastbaytimes.com. Sign up for that digital subscription as we move into basketball season. We got our basketball previews out. Nathan did a great job on the boys and girls previews. We got showcases coming up this weekend. So check that out.